Alex Padilla and our other House and Senate colleagues that are here today for their leadership. I want to thank all the frontline workers and allies, especially for being here today to demonstrate the urgent need for these protections. Working in hot conditions should never be a death sentence. Whether you work on a farm, construction site, warehouse, factory, or delivery vehicle, you deserve breaks from the heat and common sense protections such as water, rest, and shade. But currently, heat stress causes as many as 2,000 worker deaths and 170,000 illnesses and injuries every single year in the U.S. As the planet gets warmer and summer heat waves get more extreme, the problem is only getting worse. We need federal heat protections to save lives. And this all started for me in 2004 when a farm worker named Asuncion Valdivia was at work picking grapes for 10 hours straight in 105 degrees temperature in Delano, California. Suddenly, Mr. Valdivia fell over unconscious. Instead of calling an ambulance, his employer told his son to drive Mr. Valdivia home. On the way home, his son watched his father foam at the mouth and die of a heat stroke at the age of 53. Mr. Valdivia's tragic death was completely preventable. It was in his honor that I helped pass into law a state heat standard for outdoor workers when I was in the California state legislature. It mandated reasonable protections like water breaks, shade, and rest. And California became the first state in the nation to pass such protections. But it is clear that these measures work. California's standard has reduced heat-related illnesses and injuries by 30%. But not every state has these types of protections. And to make matters worse, in some of the hottest states in the country like Texas and Florida, extremist governors and state lawmakers have even passed laws that prevent cities from enacting heat protections at the local level. This is unconscionable and highlights exactly why we need a federal standard to finally protect all workers in the U.S. from extreme heat while on the job. So that is why today we are reintroducing the bipartisan Asuncion Valdivia Heat Illness, Injury, and Fatality Prevention Act. It will finally establish federal protections from extreme heat for all workers in this country. While the Biden-era Labor Department proposed an OSHA standard modeled after this bill, we do not know if the Trump administration will finalize it. And workers can't wait. That's why it's imperative that we pass this and make common sense heat protections federal law. This is not a Democratic or Republican issue. This is about protecting our workers from extreme heat, and I am glad to report that this is a bipartisan bill and that we have doubled our co-sponsors from the last time, and now we have 90 original co-sponsors. So thank you all again for being here today, and to our frontline workers who continue to share your experiences to demonstrate the urgent need for workplace heat protections. Together, we will continue to fight for a federal standard so that no one more person dies from extreme heat while on the job. Thank you. And now, I'd like to turn it over to my dedicated partner and Senate lead on this legislation, the senior senator from California, Senator Alex Padilla.
Thank you, Councilmember Chu. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us for the reintroduction of this very, very important bill. I know he's not quite here yet, but I appreciate Senator Markey's partnership in this effort. Of course, Representatives Chu and Scott and Adams, representatives of the United Farm Workers, the United Steel Workers, and AFSCME, and so many other allies and advocates that are here today. You know, it's another hot summer across the country, and especially in our home state of California. We're gathered here after, once again, the hottest year on record, after the hottest decade on record. And so it's no surprise that the leading cause of weather-related deaths today is heat. But as the planet continues to grow hotter, it's unconscionable that in the year 2025, we do not have a federally enforceable heat safety standard for workers. It's not just dangerous for farm workers and construction workers and others who work outside in the sun. It's also dangerous for those who work indoors, in factories, in kitchens, and other interior hot environments. Now, if America truly believes in the dignity of work, we also have to believe in the dignity at work. And we have to embrace our duty to protect workers from dangerous temperatures on the job. And so today I'm proud to announce the reintroduction, together with our legislative partners, of the Asunción Valdivia Heat, Illness, Injury, and Fatality Prevention Act. You've heard the story from Congressmember Chu. Asunción died in 2004 after picking grapes in California for 10 hours straight in 105-degree temperatures. At a time when so many of our colleagues are trying to claim to be for the working class. You hear this on both sides of the aisle, but you don't see the actions behind those words from both sides of the aisle. And so we're asking our Republican colleagues, it's bipartisan in the House, that's great. We need more backbone and support in the Senate. If you care about the working class, then work to protect the working class. Work to support common things like access to cool water and shade when it's really hot outside. Support paid breaks and cool spaces to cool your body off during extreme heat weather events. Because every worker deserves a safe environment in which to work, and every family deserves to know that their loved ones will come home from work after a long, hot day on the job. A national heat safety standard would provide that peace of mind. And I encourage all my colleagues, both chambers, both sides of the aisle, to join us in passing this bill. Now, before I turn it over to the next speaker, I'd like to offer just a few words in Spanish as well for our Spanish language press. Gracias por estar con nosotros hoy, reunidos después de un año, otro año más caluroso, cada verano más y más caliente. Es el ambiente en el cual nos encontramos. En el año 2025 todavía no tenemos un estándar de seguridad contra el calor a nivel federal para proteger a trabajadores. No solo es peligroso para los trabajadores que trabajan afuera, como campesinos o trabajadores de construcción. Es igual de peligroso para trabajadores que trabajan en ambientes calientes interiores, como trabajadores de fábricas o trabajadores de cocina. Así es que estamos presentando este proyecto de ley de nuevo para establecer protecciones federales como cosas de sentido común. Pedimos el apoyo de nuestros colegas demócratas y republicanos en la Cámara de Representantes y en el Senado para apoyar ideas como acceso al agua o lugares con sombra cuando es demasiado caliente, apoyando ideas como descansos pagados para trabajadores que trabajan en el calor intenso, porque todos los trabajadores merecen tener un ambiente seguro en el trabajo y todas las familias merecen saber que sus seres queridos van a regresar al fin del día cuando es muy caliente. Muchísimas gracias por estar con nosotros. And with that, let me turn it over. Your time is impeccable.
Oh, wow.
Timing is perfect. Comes with experience and seniority in the United States Senate. My colleague, my champion, my friend, Senator Ed Markey from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you for your great leadership. I ran, not walked, over from the Senate side to get here, and we had a little obstacle over here. So thank you to Senators Padilla and Cortez Masto, Representatives Alma Adams, Bobby Scott, Judy Chu, for your fierce and tireless advocacy on this issue. I want to thank Yazi Villalobos for all the work at the United Farm Workers, Dorothy Bryant from AFSCME Local 44, and Roy Hausman from the United Steel Workers. We are here today to talk about a matter of life and death. Extreme heat. Extreme heat is the deadliest type of weather, and it is killing hundreds of workers every year outside on construction sites, farms and fields, and inside warehouses and trucks and factories and kitchens. When my father was a young man, he lost his finger when it was crushed in a machine. And do you know what the boss said to him? See you on Monday. My father actually had another finger he used to describe the boss at our kitchen table and that company. My father is an indication of the absence of worker protections during that era. We had to create an agency called OSHA to protect people who worked in those conditions. Every worker should clock into work knowing they will return home safely at the end of their shift. But decades later, far too many workers still don't have the most basic protections to ensure their safety. And their safety has never been more at risk from deadly heat, thanks to the climate crisis. Heat waves are becoming more frequent, longer lasting, and more severe. 2025 is on track to be one of the hottest years in recorded history. We know the Trump administration is willing to let workers die, and their big, ugly bill is attacking our healthcare and our environment, and they just proved once again that if you kick them in the heart, you're going to break your toe when it comes to worker protections for everyone. This administration is sitting on the sidelines. Congress must act now to protect workers from heat. That's why I'm so glad to join with our leader, Senator Padilla, in the Senate on this issue, and my great friends in the House of Representatives. Because it's not rocket science. We know how to save lives. Our legislation would provide workers with basic, effective protections, access to water, access to shade, time limits on high heat exposure, and procedures for emergency medical responses. These are common sense policies. Yet Republicans in Congress are asking the Trump administration to abandon all progress the Biden administration made towards heat protections. Red state politicians are rolling back heat protections and child labor protections across our country. To the Republicans who want to kill off our heat protections, you should consider the worker harvesting crops in the sweltering heat without water or access to emergency medical care. The delivery driver who collapses on your front step or passes out while driving because they are forced to drive without air conditioning. And the construction worker who dies of heat stroke because they were not provided shade or breaks in the course of a hot, sweltering day. You cannot be pro-worker if you are anti-heat protection. Extreme heat is especially harmful to working Americans, workers from redline communities, which are on average 10 degrees hotter than wealthier suburbs. They bear the burden of heat at work and at home at the same time, on the same day. Workers who can't afford to miss a single paycheck without risking the roof over their head feel they can't quit, even when their bosses put their lives at risk. That was my father in a factory as a young man. Workers who keep their communities fed and vibrant and beautiful, but are living in fear of this administration's abhorrent, immoral, and disgusting immigration policies. These are the workers at greatest risk of exploitation by greedy corporate bosses. They deserve protections, as does every single worker who are the backbone of our economy. The thermometer is rising, and the clock is ticking. Republicans want to sacrifice working Americans. Let's save our workers instead. let us partner with Senator Padilla and all of these great House members in order to ensure that we keep those protections on the books. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you, Alex.
And now we have the ranking member of the Educational Workforce Committee, the incredible Congressmember from Virginia, Bobby Scott.
Bobby Scott.
Legendary.
Thank you, Judy, and good afternoon. This summer, Americans from coast to coast are enduring the hottest temperatures in recorded history. Days are not just uncomfortable, they are life-threatening for millions of workers across the country. From agricultural workers in the fields to warehouse employees to construction crews and faculty and factory staff, many are laboring in extreme heat with no federal protection from one of the oldest, most serious, most common workplace hazards, heat stress. The science is clear. The medical evidence is overwhelming. The moral case is undeniable, yet OSHA still lacks a national standard to protect workers from dangerous heat exposure on the job. So I'm proud to co-sponsor Judy Chu's bill to prevent the senseless death of workers due to heat. The bill honors the memory of a farm worker who we've heard tragically died after working 10 straight hours in 105-degree heat without access to shade, water, or a break. His death was preventable, as were deaths of so many others happening every year. We've known for a very long time that it does not have to be this way. In the 4th century BC, Alexander the Great was counseled to guard against heat stress as his troops marched through the desert. Heat stress is even documented several times in the Old Testament. Our own military adopted heat stress prevention programs in 1952. And I remember when I was in basic training in the Army, when the heat reached certain temperatures, we'd have to loosen our pants and stop doing PT. The National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health, NIOSH, advised OSHA on the need to protect workers way back in 1972, and again in '86, and yet again in 2016. So workers have waited long enough, and thanks to Judy Chu's leadership, we are reintroducing a bill that will end the delays and excuses and finally bring workers to the common sense protections they deserve. Within 1 year, OSHA will be required under the bill to issue a final enforceable rule setting out the strongest feasible protections against heat stress. It empowers OSHA to require paid breaks, rest breaks, access to water, shade, or cool recovery areas, and training that delivers the information in a language and format that that the workers can understand. These are simple and sensible safeguards that will save lives. As the climate crisis accelerates, workers are increasingly at risk. Heat stress is a predictable problem, but it is also a preventable problem. The urgency of the crisis requires us to act now, and this bill is a roadmap to that action. The workers' lives depend on it. Thank you, and it's my pleasure to turn it over to the gentlelady from North Carolina, a leader on the Education and Workforce Committee, Representative Alma Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Scott, and I want to thank Judy Chu, Congresswoman Chu, and all of my colleagues, Senate colleagues as well. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming out to bring awareness to this key piece of legislation. I know it's hot out here, but if millions of workers have to suffer through this heat every day, I think we can manage a few more moments. But I'm standing up and I'm speaking today for Wednesday Wendy Johnson, because she isn't around to speak for herself. Wendy was a postal survivor, a postal worker, a supervisor from Fayetteville, North Carolina. She lost her life to heat illness last summer after spending hours in the back of a postal truck on a 95-degree day without air conditioning. And Wendy was a mother of 5. She was a grandmother of 4, and she was a dedicated USPS employee for over 20 years. And let me be clear, Wendy should still be with us today. And that's why I'm proud to introduce this bill alongside my colleagues here today to honor Wendy's memory by ensuring that we protect other workers from the dangers of heat illness. Last year, President Biden's Department of Labor published a notice of proposed rulemaking informing the American people that a federal heat safety standard was on its way. And this proposed rule would protect workers, both indoors and outdoors, who are exposed to dangerous heat. And it couldn't have come any sooner. Heat-related deaths in the U.S. have doubled in the last 15 years, and it's getting hotter even every year, and we can tell that today. But even though I'm worried about the future of this proposed rule, we have an administration in the White House that wants to slash OSHA's budget. An administration that's actually chipping away at workers' rights and their fight for workplace safety. An administration that frankly doesn't give a damn about the well-being of working people. So just look at the reckless budget package that the one big ugly bill law that passed recently, that the president signed into law this month. And so we're here today to ensure that OSHA finalizes a strong heat standard, one that mandates cool water breaks for workers and protective heat equipment. We're fighting for the workers who've died, those who have needlessly lost their lives to heat illness, mothers and fathers and brothers and sisters and children who were taken too early by extreme heat and dangerous working conditions because their employers were not willing to keep them safe. And these deaths are senseless. They're cruel and they're entirely preventable. If businesses refuse to protect their employees, then it's time that we step up in Congress to do something about it. The requirements of a heat standard they're not radical. They will not crush businesses, and they're simply human decency. And so I'd like to leave you all with a final thought, a quote from the legendary farm worker organizer Cesar Chavez, who says, and I quote, "When the man who feeds the world by toiling in the fields is himself deprived of the basic rights of feeding, sheltering, and caring for his own family, then the whole community of man is sick." And let's take a step for curing our nation's sickness, and let's pass this bill, and let's set a heat standard in place, and let's do it right now. Thank you all for being here. I want to pass this back now to Congresswoman Judy Chu.
Well, thank you so much, Congressmember Adams. And now we have three workers who will talk about their experiences. First, from the United Farm Workers, we have Yesi Villalobos. She is a 19-year-old intern with the UFW. She's worked in the fields of California's Central Valley since the age of 13, gaining firsthand experience harvesting crops such as grapes, oranges, and onions. Her background as a young farm worker informs her advocacy and deep commitment to advancing the Asuncion Valdivia Heat Illness, Fatality, and Prevention Act. Yesi?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Yesi Villalobos. I'm 19 years old and serve as an intern for the United Farm Workers. I've worked in the field since I was 13 years old. I've worked picking crops like grapes, oranges, and onion in the Central Valley of California. Fresno, California is my home, and we live in a region known for its heat domes. It is common for temperatures to reach 100 degrees or higher and for the heat to be trapped by the surrounding mountains. There is little greenery, barely any shade, and poor air quality from the surrounding wildfires. Fresno residents get alerts on their phone advising them to stay indoors because the air is too dangerous to breathe. But farm workers don't have the option to stay inside. We're expected to be out there under the scalding heat, making sure the fruits and vegetables stay picked and the grocery store shelves stay stocked. I remember one summer I was picking grapes and I felt like I was going to collapse from the unbearable heat. My body felt like it was shutting down. I felt the sweat dripping down my forehead. My throat felt itchy and heavy. It was almost as if I could feel the pesticides in my throat, and the burning sensation from the sun felt unbearable. But I kept working because that's what we're expected to do. We work despite the weather conditions. My parents have experienced this. Even my grandparents who are in their 80s continue to work in the agricultural fields in the hot summer heat. But my grandpa can't work anymore because his eyes are damaged, not from age, but from years of working under the burning sun. These are the conditions we work through. It is not just one isolated summer day. It is weeks and months of extreme heat. Some farm workers spend 6 or more hours a day outside performing physically demanding work, fully clothed in long-sleeve flannels, jeans, boots, bandanas, and wide-brimmed hats to protect themselves from the sun. We are the backbone of this country's food system. We deserve protections that match the weight of that labor. How many deaths and heat strokes will it take to get federal protections for our ag workers? It is time. Now it is time we protect all outdoor workers at the federal level from the deadly heat. The solutions are common sense and life-saving. Workers need shade, cool water, and paid rest breaks to allow their bodies to cool down. I'm here not just as an intern, but as someone who has firsthand experience, as someone who has family, friends, and community who are at risk of heat-related deaths and illnesses. Congress must act now. We, the people who feed this country, deserve dignity, safety, and the right to come home alive. I urge Congress to support and advance the Asunción Valdivia Heat Illness Fatality and Prevention Act to protect all outdoor workers from preventable deaths. Thank you. And I'll pass it back to Judy too.
Thank you so much, Yacey. And now, from AFSCME, we have Dorothy Bryant. She's president of AFSCME Local 44, representing Baltimore city workers. She has 57 years of experience with the city of Baltimore, holding various roles such as phlebotomist for the Baltimore City Health Department. Following the tragic 2024 death of a sanitation worker, Ronald Silver, too, from heat stroke, Dorothy led efforts alongside AFSCME Council 3 to push for Maryland to adopt statewide heat safety standards. Her advocacy has helped secure protections regarding Maryland employers to provide water, shade, rest, and training for workers in extreme heat. Dorothy.
Hello, everyone, and good afternoon. Thank you so much, Congress Chu and Padilla, and Senator Padilla for having me today and for always standing with working people. My name is Dorothy Bryant, and I'm honored to serve as the president of AFSCME Local 44, representing thousands of city workers in Baltimore, Maryland. I worked for the city for 57 years, mostly in the health department. I've seen firsthand how dangerous heat has become for our essential city workers. One of those workers were Ronald Stewart Silver II. Ron was just 36 years old, a Baltimore sanitation worker, father of 5, and my AFSCME brother. Last August, he collapsed and died from heat stroke while working on his route. The garbage truck he was working from had no function, air conditioning in the truck. It was over 100 degrees that day. There was no break schedule, no cooling plan that the workers could go. Not having heat protection took his life. His death shook our union family. We fought hard in the months that followed, organizing and mobilizing our community to say, not one more, not one more. Our legislators heard us, and in September 2024, I'm proud to say that Maryland became the first state on the East Coast to enact enforceable statewide heat safety standards. It requires employers to provide water, rest break, shade, and training in how to identify and respond to heat illness. It means keeping workers healthy so they can stay safe on the job. And it means peace of mind for their loved ones at home. These changes will save co-workers' lives in Maryland. We can save more nationwide if Congress passes this heat illness prevention legislation. The heat is getting worse, you know it, and we can feel it today. Summer are hotter, longer, and more dangerous. And still, millions of workers across the country, not just those outside, but those in our schools, correctional facilities, clinics, and buildings without air conditioning, have no guaranteed protection. This is not just the right thing to do, but it benefits all of us. These are the workers who keep us all safe and healthy with the work that they do, and our community safe and healthy. Heat illness is preventable. Going to work in the summer should not threaten your life. Run silver, and every worker has lost their life, and other workers have lost their lives to the heat. He should still be with us today. Let's honor their memory by passing federal heat protection now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dorothy Bryant. And our final worker speaker is Roy Hausman, Legislative Director of the United Steelworkers, which is the largest manufacturing union in North America, representing workers in a broad array of industries from steel, paper, rubber, glass, refining, healthcare, and many others. Prior to his work, he was a local union president and city council member in Missoula, Montana, where he worked at a paper mill as an operator. Roy Hausman.
All right, I'm the final speaker. Is it hot out here? Yeah? Let's hear it. Or is it hot out here? Yeah. Well, we're going to turn up the heat here in Congress, because what we have here is a situation, at least for our members work 15 feet or less from a furnace that burns at 2,700 degrees Fahrenheit. Now add that heat that you feel right now next to a furnace where you're operating for 12 hours a day. This is the type of reason, these are the reasons why we get these safety department incident reports. And this here is Daryl Davis. This one piece of paper here represents a worker death. This was turned into our emergency response team. This man worked at a tire plant in Topeka, Kansas. And he cared, he did his job for years. And what happened is that a hot environment and a hot day building tires, he ended up getting heat stroke and passing. These are preventable deaths. This shouldn't be a piece of paper that we all experience and see and feel every day, just the same as a farm worker, just the same as a city worker. This is an opportunity for Congress to take what is basically an 18-page bill, 18 pages, to say you deserve to have a right to have water, an ability to cool down, to experience the ability to rest, something that the labor movement has fought for decades and will continue to strive for. So I have to ask everyone here, are you guys ready to put the heat on Congress? Are you guys ready to support our supporters here and move forward a bill that matters? So I'm asking all of you, and the steelworkers are proud to support the, sorry, I lost my page here, the Alcion Valdez Heat Illness, Injury, and Fatality Prevention Act of 2025. So thank you so much, and thank you, Representative Chu.
Thank you so much. Together we will continue to push for these common sense protections, and we have time for one or two questions, but actually they called votes, so I have to leave soon. Any questions? Then thank you all so very much.